This is interview 1 for Creativity, Innovation, Design. We will be interviewing a first person, addressing background info on their studies at Princeton, factors that they perceive in the Princeton study environment, general factors that are included in how they study and how they work, lifestyle factors in their everyday lives, and potential improvements that they may see on campus. So we'll start with some background. What's your major on campus?
My major is computer science on campus.
Okay, and within that department, how many classes are you taking this semester? How interested are you in your classes?
I'm taking one computer science class. I would say it is not particularly interesting.
Which coast class is that?
I'm in Coast 217.
Okay. Why would you say that's not particularly interesting?
Because it's very low-level stuff, and it gets into the intricacies of, like, programming systems rather than, like, pure, like, software engineering. And, like, it's rather, like, it's kind of, like, tedious.
Okay.
It takes a lot of time.
Okay. And then outside of that departmental class, what other kind of classes are you taking? What's your level of interest with them?
I'm taking Chinese. My interest level is inconsistent. Sometimes I feel up to it. Sometimes I am not. I would say it's a lot of tedious work, so that makes me not feel as engaged to the class.
Okay.
Or motivated, really, to kind of do the work and put in the effort.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say it's particularly hard. So I don't stress like too much about it. Another class I'm in is Who Wrote the Bible. My interest level in that class is very low. I really don't like that class. I just don't think the topic I'm like learning is like particularly interesting for me. It's like kind of focuses on like archaeological evidence and like the history and like I just don't really have that appreciation for that.
Okay, and then compared to the other classes which had tedious work, how would you describe the kind of work you're doing in that class?
Well, it's like just readings and like a blog post every week. And then there's like a midterm test and then a final paper. So the workload itself isn't too bad, especially because I don't read any of the readings. So in that sense, the workload is not very tedious, simply because I do not do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other... I can't believe... okay. What other classes?
Is that a problem?
No, not particularly.
Okay.
What other classes are you taking outside of that?
I am taking Mole 101.
Okay.
The sole purpose I'm taking that class is because it's a STL.
Mm-hmm. And now having to do something for a requirement outside of your major, what led you to choose that class over potential others, and what kind of work are you doing?
Well, I hear like Bridges is easy, but I think it's very boring.
Okay.
So I didn't want to take that.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to take psychology, but I don't think they offered it this semester. And then on the reviews, this class was pretty highly ranked, so kind of in it.
And which reviews did you look at? Which website? Which resources?
PrincetonCourses.com.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, it seemed like a pretty easy class. That was kind of interesting.
Okay.
More fulfilling, I guess, than Bridges.
Okay. Any other classes you're currently taking?
Nope.
Okay. So this is a 4-class semester for you then?
Yeah, I took 5 classes last semester.
All right. Give me a quick overview. We'll get more in depth with it, but
Okay.
How would you compare workload between obviously your 5-class and your 4-class semester? It seems like you're taking less departmentals this semester too. So, in general, what was the workload difference that you saw?
Actually, your assumption is wrong. I'm taking more departmentals this semester. I was in Coast 217 for a bit last semester, and then I dropped it because I wasn't really sure what was going on in class. So it was like, and I was gonna take a lot of like distribution requirements like this semester anyway.
Okay.
So I decided, oh, why not just take one of the distribution requirements I was gonna take this semester, last semester, and then take Coast 217 this semester.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Okay.
In terms of workload, I feel like it's like around the same, just because Coast 217's workload is very unpredictable in the sense that it could literally take me days on end without fail for me to work on my assignment.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do assignments like that make you feel while you're studying or working on them?
It makes me very frustrated. But it also, I guess, motivates me to do my work simply because I know it's going to take a lot of time for me. And then I actually churn out work because I would say I have a pretty big procrastination problem.
Okay.
Booling in the room a lot, you know? So I think it's like one of those subjects where I actually don't really mind working on it.
And that's particularly because you're interested.
I would say it works a different part of my mind rather than like reading or something. Like I could spend hours reading and just like not retain any knowledge just because I'll space out immediately. But when I'm coding, like my mind is like very attentive throughout.
Okay.
And I like writing, like I don't enjoy writing, but like I can write code and it's like not that hard. Like, yeah.
Okay. So between the two types of classes, like more writing heavy and more coding heavy, when you run into roadblocks or reach frustrations, how do you work through that for coding versus like writing?
Well, for coding, I usually have to like stop and kind of like write down what my code does on paper to like kind of visualize what's happening and where I could be doing it wrong. And I also will like take a break from coding because I think sitting through like a session like can really like blind you on like where your bugs might be, like what problems you might have, and just like taking some time away to incubate my ideas can really like increase my productivity and like problem solving skills. I think like subconsciously thinking about it and having my brain like subconsciously work on the solution definitely helps me a lot for that. But for writing, when I encounter a problem, I just stare at my computer and try to formulate the perfect sentence.
Okay.
And it just wastes time.
Okay.
Like after like 4 hours or something, it's not like I've gained more knowledge and I was like, damn, like this is my perfect sentence I was looking for. Now it's gonna be easy. It's just like roadblocks, just delaying my like process.
So it's something.
It's like something that's hard to overcome.
Okay. And what factors would you attribute to that? It sounds like there, for example, like classic things, writer's block would be just the idea of, not being able to write something, and not knowing where to start, those kinds of things. So compared to coding, what are your big roadblocks in writing?
I think it's like think way more when I write, and like each sentence in my opinion has to be perfect, because I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to writing. So like that really like makes me want to like rewrite sentences and like kind of think about sentences individually, and then that makes it very hard for me to like come up with the perfect sentence, because it probably doesn't even exist. And then while I'm writing code, like it's literally just like language that the computer understands, so it doesn't really matter like how, and there's like different ways, like different solutions to it, that like I don't really stress about getting the perfect solution, because I don't like think of myself as like some like god level coder.
Okay.
Like I just think I'm like a proficient coder, so like how I measure my success with that is like getting my code to work, versus when I'm writing, it's like, oh, I need to get the perfect like paper, rather than I just need to finish my paper.
So how would you compare that kind of dynamic to something like Chinese, where you're learning the language, versus English, where I guess in a way you're expected to know the language and you're writing out essays, reading books, that kind of stuff?
Chinese?
Yeah.
Well, Chinese, like the homeworks that I have to do are kind of like based on like just completion. So on those I just really don't care, and I just write whatever comes up to my mind.
Okay.
So in that sense I think it's like close, kind of like coding. But in when I'm in the tests, like I kind of like obviously like kind of review like the sentence patterns, and like try to figure out what's right, what's wrong, and like how to like actually formulate a sentence that's coherent, and like doesn't have errors, and like it's actually well written, kind of like in writing in English.
What was your, so we didn't talk about this at the start, but where did you grow up? When did you like, what was your schooling before Princeton like?
I grew up in I was born in Hong Kong, and then I was there for like 11 years.
Okay.
And then I was in middle school and high school in Tokyo. So I would say those are the, like my time in Tokyo is definitely what like shaped me the most, and like what I identify with the most, simply because I have more like connection, I guess. And
okay.
Like, yeah, how I feel.
And what was your first language you learned growing up?
The first language I like learned how to speak was Japanese.
And
but
what
I would say English is better than my Japanese now.
Okay. Do you feel that there's any barrier there that contributes to writer's block or anything of that sort?
I don't think so. I would say I'm like a pretty good writer, so it's more of like my like expectations, and like wanting to meet those expectations, rather than, and like how I think, I guess, rather than like having Japanese as my first language and then whatnot.
Okay. In addition to that, so we talked about the kind of classes you're taking, the workload that's associated with them, some issues, frustrations that you have with current classes, getting work done. On the level of interest in classes, what are some lessons you learned in picking classes, and choosing what keeps you engaged during your time at Princeton? I know you talked about like your class on the Bible, which is not engaging too much. So how have you picked classes so far, chosen to stick with them, that kind of stuff?
I usually just pick my classes based on requirements. So after like freshman year, I had a meeting with the academic or dean of studies, I guess, and he said that I was like basically not doing any of my distribution requirements, and he was like, "Are you planning on going to summer school?" And I was like, "No." So then he was like, "Well, at this rate, you're gonna have to go to summer school at least for one summer, since like you're not on track to getting your distribution requirements done." So this semester, I've really just been grinding on my distribution so that I don't have to go to summer school.
Okay.
And then I've obviously had to take like departmental requirements that even though I don't like I just have to take, right? So I've been doing that. Other than that, I take like some entrepreneurship classes because I think they're pretty cool, and my dad wants me to get the certificate. Ideally, I would take like marine biology or something like that. But there's also like prerequisites for like classes like that, like more like
214.
214.
Yeah.
And see, like I'm not interested in the base level of biology. Like I don't really care about that. So like it's kind of hard to like reach the classes that I'm like interested in, simply because there's other like prerequisites that I have to take in order to take that class. And if I'm not gonna like major in that, like why take it, right? And like that's also why like I was like kind of interested in being an EEB major, but then I would have to be a BSc student, and I would have to take chemistry, physics, mol bio. I mean, like bio makes sense, but like I didn't see why I would. Like I don't like chemistry. I think chemistry is very boring.
Okay.
Even though, funnily enough, it was probably my best subject in high school, but yeah, I don't like chemistry. Physics is kind of hard, and I don't really like it. Biology, I was just poorly taught, so I was not prepared to take. And I also didn't want to take the math classes that I have to take. So, like, yeah, that's why I didn't do that.
Okay.
But maybe I should have, who knows? I don't know.
Nah, it's a little too late.
Yeah, it is too late, unless I reclassify.
Oh, yeah.
And become a freshman.
Don't do that.
Which is possible, I guess.
Don't do that. Yeah. Okay, so I guess in a way, Princeton, the dean that talked to you, eventually you would have had to take these classes, but in a way he kind of forced you to take these classes, or else summer school would have been your only option.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I know you said you used PrincetonCourses.com and the reviews there to choose most of your classes.
Yes.
Did you take advantage of options like ad drop, talking to professors? What kind of things did you do beyond that, if anything, to decide if you actually wanted to take those classes?
Nothing.
Okay.
Well, I guess I took advantage of ad drop.
Okay. Because I know you said COAS.
Yeah.
Right?
So I guess I did that.
Is there...
But I think the ad drop period's kind of too short to truly know if the class is interesting or not. Because I think... Well, like, I thought Who Wrote the Bible was kind of bland when I first joined.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I'll just stick through it because the reviews were good.
Is there a reason you said you'd stick through it? Just because of the reviews?
Yeah.
Anything in class that made you say maybe there's something that could come out of this? Okay.
Just the reviews. And then ad drop kind of came and I was like, oh, like, I still feel like I haven't seen what was good in the reviews, but like the reviews were so good. So, and I was like, numbers don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie.
Usually they don't.
So I decided to stick through with it. And I also couldn't really, like, find, like, a replacement class that I was really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
That I wanted to switch into.
And what were the issues in finding replacements? Scheduling, interests?
Scheduling, interests. Also, like, being afraid that if I switch into it and I don't like it either, then I have to stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I didn't. I just wanted to trust my gut instinct and go with the first thing.
Makes sense. Okay. Is there anything else you typically do to pick classes? So before you're already in there and deciding an add drop period, do you take on like 5-6 classes and shop them?
Oh, definitely not.
Why not?
Because that's just like, I mean, this might sound bad, but like that's just me attending classes that I'm eventually not gonna take, and just like too many hours, dude. It's too many hours.
Is there a reason? What's your opinion on attending class? What's your usual?
I attend it. I attend class. I attend almost every class.
And what motivates you to attend class? If you're talking now about like having too much class to go to.
If you break down the numbers, right,
okay.
Every class is like $1,000 or so, like, dollars.
So interesting. Okay.
So like, yeah, it's like burning money if I don't go to class. So I go to class. Especially because it's not my money.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Is there anything else that motivates you to go to class? Obviously, so for the ones that you're interested in, is there any other factors outside of interest that get you to go to class?
Well, sometimes there's like participation grade.
So grading.
Yeah. I would say those are like the only reasons why. Other than interests that I would go.
So for a class you're not interested in and participation isn't a factor, then the cost of it is what gets you to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say your parents are strict in that sense? What makes you think like, well, this is their money, I really should care about this?
It's probably how I was raised, and like just like knowing the value of money, and kind of like understanding the privilege that comes with money, and like the privilege of attending school, and like being a student, like responsibility, I guess, and also like just to feel better that I'm actually going to class instead of being a bum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And outside of the fulfillment during class, what kind of fulfillment do you get from doing the work for classes? This can be different between classes.
Well, like in especially hard classes, it's very agonizing. And like rarely, but sometimes when I can actually do it and like think it wasn't that bad and actually have learned like a hard subject, that makes me feel good because it shows that I'm learning and I'm able to actually do something that's hard if I try hard.
Okay.
So it gives me hope, well, like if the material is interesting, obviously, like I'm like motivated to do it and I feel good doing it because I'm learning more. And then when it's tedious, like Chinese, I just absolutely hate it. Because I don't feel like I'm learning from it. I don't really see the point of it. And I just do it because it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So that type of work is like definitely the worst type of work.
Okay.
And I would say that's why a lot of people hate writing sim.
That makes sense.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Outside of classes, what do you do on campus?
I'm in club soccer.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. Would you say that takes up a lot of your time?
Yeah. I have practice like 3-4 times a week. Sometimes 5 if I have a game. And it's like every practice like 2 hours long. And I'm also the tech chair, so I have to send out some important information. You know, I have more responsibilities than the average club soccer member.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I pour out some more time and more commitment, you know.
Okay.
Make sure the club stays alive, stays afloat. I'm very proud of my position.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, have to make sure that I'm doing it justice.
Okay.
So put in the effort.
Solid. Social-wise, are you in an eating club? How much time does that take up?
Yeah, I wish I was in an eating club. Actually, yeah, I am in an eating club.
Okay, which eating club?
I'm in a TI.
And what is the social calendar like? How demanding is that?
Well, there are members' nights on Wednesday. And then nights out on Thursday, Saturday. I wouldn't say it's a demanding social, like, schedule, because I don't feel, like, obliged to go. It's more like I am motivated to go. Kind of, like, in the same sense as, like, when you're interested in a subject, you're, like, intrinsically motivated to go to class and, like, learn the subject and do well.
Right.
Rather than a class that is, like, super bland, where you're just, like, like, I have to go, because I have to go.
And how do you relate work with social life? Are you kind of rewarding what you do with going out and having fun, that kind of stuff? Or is that...
I wouldn't say it's a reward system. It's
Yeah.
more of, like coexistence. I would say it's important to have a balance. But me personally, I probably value sleep and social a little bit more than education, simply because sleep is just important for your mood and, like, health, and also just being able to be attentive in your class, so that you can efficiently and, like, maximize the most that you take away from your classes. And I think social is also very important, just because I feel like mental health is very important. And, like in the end of the day, like, what's the point of having so much education if, like, you're not gonna be able to make a good use out of it and be happy with yourself? Because I think at the end of the day, what really matters is, like, how you lived your life and, like, being happy, rather than I'm super smart, but I don't feel, like, fulfilled or, like, happy.
Yeah. Sounds like ways you derive self-worth.
Yeah, I would say so. I think self-worth is very important. And there are a lot of factors that contribute to that. But yeah, I definitely think a social life is, like, very important, just because, like, I think humans are kind of, like, innately social and also need social activity and, like, comfort, and just human nature kind of makes that very important. Even if you're, like, introverted, I feel like without a great social, like, side, even though that may be different for each person, like, you won't be happy. And I think happiness is, like, the most important thing in humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go into more of your typical day, and from this we're going to get some more specific examples that we can call to later on in some other questions. So
Okay.
before midterms week, kind of before like all that crazy scheduling happened, maybe even today, pick a specific day and walk me through it, kind of like a typical day in the semester this year.
Well, I would say the past like 3-4 weeks, right before spring break, I was getting especially, for the lack of a better word, fucked by my academics.
Okay.
And this is simply because my course assignment took way longer than I've anticipated and supposed to take. So it took me like 30 hours to do when it was supposed to take only 10. So that sent me back a little bit, right, in the grand scheme of things. And then I had a midterm that was a week earlier than the rest of my midterms, so I had to study for that. And because I was like kind of behind already, I didn't have much time to study for it, so I was studying for that. Didn't do great on it. Even had a lab report, I feel like. I'm not really sure. And then I had another computer science assignment right after that it was supposed to take me 12 hours, but took me 22. But I didn't have to take any late days on this, so pretty proud of myself. But just because it took me 30 hours and I studied for that, and then I had to do 22-hour close assignment, I was pretty mentally exhausted, right?
Right.
And then I had 3 midterms right after that, and I had to study for all of them, of course. So that was just tiring, mentally exhausting, and it was just just felt like I wasn't getting a break. My brain seemed like it was getting fried simply because I feel like at Princeton you either get hit with just one big wave, but this was waves.
Yeah.
I mean, not even waves, just constant just work being piled on me.
Okay.
So
and then you're not allowed to work with people on these course assignments, right?
no, which makes it harder.
Okay.
Yes.
All
really, really just have to
power through.
Look within yourself and find the answer. It's very challenging. I would say. Yes.
So,
but I would say a typical day in my life is very not like that. But that's also probably why I got hit with so much work and just struggled with dealing with that, because I would say a typical day, I wake up and I try to get breakfast, but I feel kind of tired, so I just sleep, because I think sleep is more important than breakfast. So I just sleep.
And how many hours of sleep do you usually get?
Probably more than 8. But I want to get like 9. Yeah, because I'm a big proponent in the sleep cycles. So because I get 8 or 8.5, I feel tired. So I would much prefer to get 7.5 or 9 hours of sleep, and ideally 9 hours of sleep. But it's kind of hard to get 9 hours of sleep every day, right? So and then everyone's eight hours a day, right? So then I trick myself into getting 8 hours, but I feel just tired. So I feel like I should be sleeping 7.5 hours. But for some reason, I always end up choosing 8 or 8.5. And I just feel tired, man. It's not So I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so you still stick to those 1.5 hour sleep cycles for the most part, right? Like if you can't get those
Yeah,
8 hours,
if I'm on like a time crunch, I definitely go. I like the minimum that I want to have of sleep before like a midterm or like assignment that I'm cramming for is like 4.5 hours,
okay,
and then I try to get like 4.5 or 6 hours of sleep
okay,
when I'm like cramming for that. 3 when I'm in a crisis, obviously, but for the most part, I'm more on the 8 hour side,
Mhm.
and I mean, I go to class, just take in my classes, have lunch.
So sometimes you don't get breakfast, but
Most of the times I don't get breakfast, but
Okay.
I really want to get breakfast.
okay,
So I guess that gives me a little bit of a hit to my self-worth. But I would say because I'm unable to get breakfast when I want to get breakfast really shows the kind of person I am, right? I'm like, damn man, like I want to get breakfast, but I'm not even motivated enough to like get out of bed and get breakfast. So I feel like that's a problem. So I think if I were to fix my study habits, I first have to get breakfast every day
mm-hmm.
and prove to myself that I can do something as simple as getting breakfast every day before getting like good study habits. You know, does that make sense?
It does.
You know,
Yes.
I also want to work out in the mornings, so it forces me to get breakfast every day. But you know, unsuccessful.
With workouts in relation to club soccer, what
Yes.
drives you to want to work out outside of that activity?
I just want to get kind of like bigger, but also just like healthier, I guess.
Okay.
And I feel like exercise really stimulates my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like just because I sleep right up to the point that my class starts, when I attend my classes, I'm just tired as hell, right? And like not really awake.
Mm-hmm.
So then I don't intake any knowledge, right? And I'm in this endless cycle of just not taking in knowledge and like and just feeling tired in class. So then I think like when you like I might be wrong because my biology and chemistry is not that like great, but I think you know when you exercise, you know, it really stimulates your brain
Okay.
and sends out some chemicals that really, you know,
Endorphins.
and that's like very conducive to studying.
Okay.
So that's why I want to do that.
Okay.
Most importantly, like in the mornings.
Okay.
Because I think that's a great start for knowledge intake.
Mm.
But you know, motivation, man.
Okay.
I think going in the gym and getting good, like not procrastinating, I think are two of the hardest things to do.
Mm.
And I think if you can do one, it proves that you can do the other if you really wanted to. So I'm in the process of trying to prove to myself that I can do that. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So typical day, you prioritize sleep when you can.
Yeah.
Maybe this usually cuts into breakfast. Attend class. Do you always get lunch?
Yes.
Okay.
Get too hungry without it.
Okay. What is the rest of the day looking like?
Usually have like maybe 1 or 2 classes after lunch.
Okay.
Attend those. Feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a day of classes, I just want to come back to my room and relax for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I end up, you know, just not really doing much for a bit. Then grab dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Come back. Don't really feel like doing something. And then go to soccer practice sometimes. And then after soccer practice, I'm running around for like 2 hours, so I'm tired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I take a shower to wake myself up a bit. and it works for like 30 minutes, and then I feel tired again. So then I usually just go to sleep or something, or just don't do work.
Okay.
Or I'll stay up, and then by staying up, it kind of awakens my mind again, and then I'll do work for like an hour or two, and then go to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel tired, you shower to wake up.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
always work.
So, yeah, clearly I don't do much work, if that makes sense.
Yes. We're going to get into that, to get to the root of that. As part of that, so bed and sleep is an important part for you. In terms of meals and nutrition, we'll get more in depth, but like just in general, do you eat really healthy? Okay. Okay. So quick. So food, very important to you. Food, nutrition wise, you're healthy, right?
Debatable.
Okay. Just in general,